This book was written in the 90s. It is a science fiction novel, part of a trilogy, actually. Highly acclaimed, highly critically acclaimed. About Mars, the red planet, red Mars. It is about the colonization of Mars. It has multiple narrators. So the book is told from the perspective of a few different people. 3 so far. Mars, the red planet. It's rated 9 out of 10 fingers. Mars, the red planet, closest to Earth in our solar system. Surely life must exist on it? We dreamt about the builders of the canals that we could see by telescope, about ruined cities, lost Martian civilizations, the possibilities of alien contact. Then Viking and Mariner probes. Then the Viking and Mariner probes went up and sent back nothing. Mars was a barren planet. Lifeless, sterile, uninhabited. In 2019, the first man set foot on the surface of Mars, John Boone, American hero. In 2027, 100 of the Earth's finest engineers and scientists made the first mass landing. Their mission, to create a new world. To terraform a planet with no atmosphere, an intensely cold climate, and no magnetosphere. To turn it into an Eden full of people, plants, and animals. It is the greatest challenge mankind has ever faced. The ultimate use of intelligence and ability. Our finest dream. So, we're not even quite halfway through the book. This is the biggest book I've ever read on stream. The thickest, by far. So, we're about this far into it, you know. We have flown to Mars. 100 people, and possibly, I don't know, Maya said that she saw a stowaway, but she might have been hallucinating from space madness. But anyway, so 100 people officially are on Mars, and they are building the first permanent settlement on Mars, fulfilling their manifest destiny. And after little debate, no, after a lot of debate, they have decided that it would be most expedient to terraform the planet. So they are currently talking about releasing like microbes and bioengineered fungi. That's what they called me in college. Bioengineered funguses, fungis, and, you know, talking about how they're going to heat up the planet, rebuild the atmosphere, and maintain this, which has made, like, there's, like, 2 people that made really sad, because they're like, why are we destroying this planet that we haven't even explored yet? But it seems like the debate is pretty much over, because everybody's like, I want a condo on Mars. Everybody's really excited, you know, to get a condo on Mars. So they're kind of like, can you hurry this shit up? I need to be able to breathe. Which has made a couple nerds like sad. But a lot of nerds really excited as well, because there's a whole project of terraforming a fucking planet and building livable cities. So we are still in the first settlement, which is like an underground bunker. And there's like a couple stations like above ground. Like there's like a nuclear power plant, which was assembled like a Lego set from airdrops, which is how they built everything once they got there. There were air supplies dropped on the planet, and they started building things like their farm, their chemical station, their power plant, the living place, like the underground bunker, which they call Underhill. Right, I just remembered they call it Underhill, which has a swimming complex to combat space madness. And what else? Yeah, they've been building roads. They're working their way slowly but surely. A lot of construction. They went to the North Pole, a couple of them. They got some ice, and then they built like a robot ice transportation. Yeah, that's about it. That's they built a space station on the moon of Mars, Phobos. And the guy who built the space station just came back. Like he hasn't been on Mars yet, so he just got to Mars with the rest of the group. I guess a swimming pool is a bad idea in zero gravity. Yeah, but they're on Mars, so there is actually, it's like 0.75 G. So they do have gravity. Yeah, Arcady, King of Phobos, came back and said that Mars was ugly and that they need to like glam the place up so that they aren't just miserable utilitarians. Our story is currently narrated by Nadia Ninefingers, named as such because her Russian name is too hard to pronounce. Just kidding. She's Nadia, and she's been the narrator for like a good part of this book now. Like she's the longest narrator so far. First we had Frank. He's a little disturbed, and that was like a flash forward. So I guess we're currently in a flashback to like when they first landed on Mars. And then The Voyage Out was narrated by Maya Twatnova, Russian supermodel / captain of the Russian side. And now it is narrated by Nadia, also Russian. But like she's like Maya's best friend / like I don't know the word. Maya and Nadia, they consider each other like sisters. And Nadia got her hand crushed in some mining equipment. And she lost her pinky finger, so they call her Nadia Ninefingers, affectionately, of course. And there's a little budding romance between her and Arcady, although I think Arcady is just like, I don't know, there's totally a danger that he's just like trying to schmooze her so that she votes for his like political ideas. I would describe Arcady as a anarcho-communist who loves having opinions. But I totally ship. Like, I think we can all agree. We totally ship Narcady. Sounds worse than it is. Is there no hope for Anne's Mars preservation? As of last week's reading, I would say there is no hope for Anne. She's on the geological team. She's the part of the geology team. And she really doesn't want them to bulldoze Mars immediately. She's like, okay, I don't want you to bulldoze Mars at all, But can you guys like at least wait until we've explored some of the planet? And it sounds like she kind of lost that debate. But that's actually like that's the crux of the current tension right now. Arcady, he's ready to release the fungus. He's like, release the fungus, start warming the planet, we're gonna build some windmills, blah blah blah. This is what we have to do. He wasn't the main proponent of this, by the way, but he's kind of taken an authority on a lot of things. Like, Arcady is not in charge of anything, but he's a very influential person, and he kind of has an unspoken authority, and he thinks that they should just do whatever Martians want to do. They don't have to listen to the people on Earth. We don't have to wait for approval from the UN to tell us what we're doing on Mars. So he's kind of he's not like a villain, but he's definitely a renegade. He's a rogue. And he just got back to Mars, and he heard the argument of like Anne versus everybody, and he was kind of like, yeah, if we're gonna make Mars belong to humans, we should get started like right now. And I would say, yeah, Anne's if Arcady's saying it, I would say Anne lost the debate, and Mars will not be saved. Arcady is here to get shit done. And Anne, she's kind of a nerd, you know, and she's always like sad, and that's weird. Nobody likes her anyways. So where were we? Ah, yes, Heat. Thank you for 25 months. And holy shit, I think I missed it. I'm so sorry, cult leader. Please do not beat me later. Thank you for 63 months. Do you need to pee? I want another bong hit. I mean, no, I already went. I can wait a minute, though. I can just sit here and think about life. Okay, thank you, cult leader. You're so merciful, so wise, so generous. Thank you. Would you rather have a pet chicken or a pet raccoon? Pet raccoon for sure. Chickens are fucking stupid. A pet raccoon would be awesome. Like, you raise it from a baby, so it like loves you. It like, you know, like it thinks you're like part of its family. That would be awesome. And they have thumbs, and they're so smart. Like, I could give it like shiny things, and it would actually appreciate them. If I gave something shiny to a chicken, it would eat it. It wouldn't appreciate it. Chickens are the best animal to eat because they are tasty, and they are so stupid that you don't feel bad for eating them. Oh my god. Well, maybe you don't feel bad, okay? You're stupid. Why don't we just eat you? Listen, I will stand up for the brain dead animals, okay? I would choose a raccoon as a pet over a chicken for sure. How dare you? How dare you, you monster. The guy's fucking monstrous. Don't listen to him. Hello, kitty. She loves chicken. I think she heard us say chicken. Chicken? You want chicken? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I missed you. She doesn't know that I'm streaming. So she hates that. Oh, don't rip my dress. What the hell? She's such a stinker. What? I can't play right now. I'm sorry. Ow. No, I must read. Listen, you can't give in to their demands. They'll just ask for more. She got more than she was expecting already. She's happy. No, I know. Sometimes I don't acknowledge her in the background because I know it's worse to get their hopes up, you know? It's like she knows that now is me time and I shouldn't have it was fun to pet her. She got more than she bargained for sure. But you got to be careful. You don't want to lead them on. You don't want to get their hopes up. Like, "Oh, we're going to play now." Just kidding. I'm going to talk to a wall for 5 hours and ignore you. Sorry. So yeah, it's important to set boundaries. Where were we? Yeah, that's what she gets for prancing around in the background. It worked. I'll give her that. It worked. Ahem. Okay, and so I will start where, we reread a little bit past this, but I was tired, so I don't really remember it. So where I really stopped was Arkady and Nadia are flirting, and Arkady's trying to, butter her up so that she agrees with him, and they held hands, or he kissed her hand, and everybody died. And then Arkady called Nadia a liberal. And she was like, haha, oh, you radical. You hate liberalism because it works. He snorted. It does. It works in increments over time after hard labor, without fireworks or easy dramatics or people getting hurt, without your sexy revolutions and all the pain and hatred they bring. It only works. Ah, Nadia. He put his arm over her shoulders, and they started walking again towards base. Earth is a perfectly liberal world, but half of it is starving, and always has been and always will be. Very liberally. Still, Nadia seemed to have affected him. He quit calling for a unilateral decision to release the new GEMs onto the surface, and he confined the agitprop instead to his beautification program, spending much of his time in the quarter, trying to make colored bricks and glass. Nadia joined him for a swim before breakfast on most days, and they, along with John and Maya, took over a lane in the shallow pool that filled all of one of the vaulted chambers, and swam a brisk workout of 1,000 or 2,000 meters. John led the sprint sets, Maya led the distance sets. Nadia followed in everything, hampered by her bad hand, and they churned through the extra splashy water like a line of dolphins, staring through their goggles down at the sky blue concrete of the pool bottom. The butterfly was made for this G, John would say, grinning at the way they would practically fly out of the water. Breakfasts afterwards were pleasant if brief, and the rest of the days were the usual round of work. Nadia seldom saw Arkady again till evenings at dinner, or afterward. Then Sachs and Spencer and Rhea finished setting up the robot factory for making Sachs's windmill heaters, and they applied to UNOMA for permission to distribute 1,000 of them around the equatorial regions to test their warming effect. All of them together were only expected to add about twice the heat to the atmosphere that Chernobyl did. And there were even questions as to whether they would be able to distinguish the added heat from background seasonal fluctuations. And there were even questions as to whether they would be able to distinguish the added heat from background seasonal fluctuations. But as Sachs said, they wouldn't know until they tried. And there was no doubt that the heaters would add some heat. There was no doubt that the heaters would add some heat to the surface, detectable or not. The equator is the most liberal. There was no doubt that the heaters would add heat to the surface, detectable or not. And so the terraforming argument flared again. And suddenly Anne flew into violent action, taping long messages that she sent to the members of UNOMA's executive committee and to the national offices for Martian affairs for all the countries that were currently on the committee, and finally to the UN General Assembly. These appearances were given enormous amounts of attention, from the most serious policy-making levels all the way down to the tabloid press and TV, media that regarded it as the newest episode of the Red soap opera. Anne had taped and sent her messages in private, so the colonists learned of them by seeing excerpts on Terran TV and watching the reaction to them in the days that followed. Debates in government, a rally in Washington that drew 20,000, endless amounts of editorial space, and commentary in the scientific nets. It was a bit shocking to see the strength of these responses, and some of them felt Anne had gone behind their backs. Phyllis, for one, was outraged. Honey, I emailed the UN. Besides, it doesn't make sense, Sachs said, blinking rapidly. Chernobyl is already releasing almost as much heat into the atmosphere as these windmills, and she never complained about that. Yes, she did, Nadia said. She just lost the vote. Hearings were held at UNOMA, and while they were going on a group of the materials... Wait. What? Hearings were held at the UNOMA, And while they were going on, a group of the materials scientists. Okay, I got it. Hearings were held at the UNOMA, and while they were going on, a group of the materials scientists confronted Anne after dinner. A lot of the rest of them were there to witness this confrontation. Underhill's main dining hall filled 4 chambers, whose dividing walls had been removed and replaced by load-bearing pillars. It was a big room filled with chairs and potted plants, and the descendants of the Aries birds. And most recently, lit by windows installed high across the northern wall, through which they saw the ground-level crops of the atrium. A big space, and at least half of the colonists were in it eating when the meeting took place. "Why didn't you discuss this with us?" Spencer asked her. Anne's glare forced Spencer to look away. "Why should I discuss it with you?" she said, turning her gaze on Sax. "It's clear what you all think about this. We've gone over it many times before, and nothing I've said makes any difference to you. Here you sit in your little holes, running your little experiments, making things like kids with a chemistry set in a basement, while the whole time an entire world sits at your door. A world where the landforms are 100 times larger than their equivalents on Earth and 1,000 times older, with evidence concerning the beginning of the solar system scattered all over, as well as the whole history of a planet scarcely changed in the last billion years. And you're going to wreck it all. And without ever honestly admitting what you're doing either. Because we could live here and study the planet without ever changing it. We could do that with very little harm or even inconvenience to ourselves. All this talk of radiation is bullshit, and you know it. There's simply not a high enough level of it to justify this mass alteration of the environment. You want to do that because you think you can. You want to try it out and see, as if this were some big playground sandbox for you to build castles in, a big Mars jar. You find your justifications where you can, but it's bad faith and it's not science. Her face had gone bright red during this tirade. Nadia had never seen her anywhere near as angry as this. The usual matter-of-fact facade that she placed over her bitter anger had shattered, and she was almost speechless with fury and shuddering. The whole room had gone quiet. "It's not science, I say. It's just playing around. And for that game, you're going to wreck the historical record, destroy the polar caps and outflow channels and the canyon bottoms, destroy a beautiful, pure landscape, and for nothing at all." The room was as still as a tableau. The ventilators hummed. People began to eye each other warily. Simon took a step toward Anne, his hand outstretched. She stopped him dead with a glance. He might as well have stepped outside in his underwear and frozen stiff. His face reddened, and he cracked his posture and sat back down. Sax Russell rose to his feet. He looked the same as ever, perhaps a bit more flushed than usual, but mild, small, blinkingly owlish, his voice calm and dry, as if lecturing on some textbook point of thermodynamics or enumerating the periodic table. "The beauty of Mars exists in the human mind," he said. in that dry, factual tone, and everyone stared at him amazed. Without the human presence, it is just a collection of atoms, no different from any other random speck of matter in the universe. It's we who understand it, and we who give it meaning. All our centuries of looking up at the night sky and watching it wander through the stars, all those nights of us watching it through telescopes, looking at a tiny disk, trying to see canals in the albedo changes, all those dumb sci-fi novels with their monsters and maidens and dying civilizations, and all the scientists who studied the data or got us here. That's what makes Mars beautiful, not the basalt and the oxides. He paused to look around at them all. Nadia gulped. It was strange in the extreme to hear these words come out of the mouth of Sax Russell, in the same dry tone that he would use to analyze a graph. Too strange. Now that we are here, he went on, it isn't enough to just hide under 10 meters of soil and study the rock. That's science, yes, and needed science too. But science is more than that. Science is a part of a larger human enterprise. And that enterprise includes going to the stars, adapting to other planets, adapting them to us. Science is creation. The lack of life here and the lack of any finding in 50 years of the SETI program indicates that life is rare, and intelligent life even rarer. And yet the whole meaning of the universe, its beauty, is contained in the consciousness of intelligent life. We are the consciousness of the universe, and our job is to spread that around, to go look at things, to live everywhere we can. It's too dangerous to keep the consciousness of the universe on only one planet. It could be wiped out. And so now we're on 2, 3 if you count the moon. And we can change this one to make it safer to live on. Changing it won't destroy it. Reading its past might get harder, but the beauty of it won't go away. If there are lakes or forests or glaciers, how does that diminish Mars' beauty? I don't think it does. I think it only enhances it. It adds life, the most beautiful system of all. But nothing life can do will bring Tharsis down or fill the Marineris. Mars will always remain Mars, different from Earth, colder and wilder. But it can be Mars and ours at the same time. And it will be. There is this about the human mind. If it can be done, it will be done. We can transform Mars and build it like you would build a cathedral as a monument. And we could do it like you build a cathedral as a monument to humanity and to the universe. We can do it, so we will do it. So, he held up a palm, as if satisfied that the analysis had been supported by the data in the graph, as if he had examined the periodic table and found that it still had held true. So, we might as well start. He looked at Anne, and all eyes followed her. Anne's mouth was tight, her shoulders slumped. She knew she was beaten. She shrugged, as if she were shrugging a hooded cape back over her head and body, a heavy carapace that weighed her down and covered her entirely from them. In the flat, dead tone that she usually employed when she was upset, she said, "I think you value consciousness a little too high, and rock too little. We are not lords of the universe. We are one small part of it. We may be its consciousness, but being the consciousness of the universe does not mean turning it all into a mirror image of us. It means rather fitting into it as it is and worshiping it with our attention." She met Sax's mild gaze, and one final flare of her anger jetted out. "You've never even seen Mars." And she left the room. Janet had had her camera specs on and videotaped this exchange. Phyllis sent a copy back to Earth. A week later, the Unoma Committee on Environmental Alterations approved the dissemination of heater windmills. The plan was to drop them from dirigibles. Arcady immediately claimed the right to pilot one, as a sort of reward for his work on Phobos. Maya and Frank were not unhappy at the thought of Arcady disappearing from Underhill for another month or two, so they immediately assigned him one of the craft. He would drift east in the prevailing winds, descending to place windmills in channel beds and on the outer flanks of craters, both places where winds tended to be strong. Nadia first heard of the expedition when Arcady skipped through the chambers to her and told her about it. "Sounds nice," she said. "Want to come along?" he asked. "Why, yes," she said. Her ghost finger was tingling.